Hi guys, Nicholas here at Online Calisthenics, and today we're going to talk about 6 tips to get stronger overall. When you work out, there's a lot of factors involved into getting stronger, and the tips that we're going to address today are often underrated and not really trained by a lot of people, and that very often undermines their results. So they don't get all the results that they could um, without doing this. So I'm going to show you 6 different things to do to get stronger overall, and these are going to be divided into 3 different sections. So you get 2 tips per section. And the first section that we're going to discuss is your wrist. So your wrist and your grip strength in general are a huge factor of strength. Whether you do pulling or you do pushing or you lift a dumbbell, it doesn't matter. Your wrist and grip strength is going to be very important so that you can actually develop a maximum range of motion and get proper form in your movement. So let me show you 4 essential wrist stretches that you can do before any workout. They're all valid, and this will change everything as far as your range of motion. For example, for push-ups, people are very limited into flexing their wrist, so they tend to put their hands a little too high. When they pull, they can't really false grip, so they can't really develop the full back muscle chain when they do that. So let's go ahead and check what those stretches are. First position is the straightforward position like you would do in a push-up. So you want to keep your fingers spread apart, your thumb spread apart as well, and roll around your wrist. You want to keep your elbows facing forward and your shoulders open as well. That's how it looks from the side. You want to keep rounding your back, so you keep putting some pressure on that wrist, but control because you stay on your knees, so it's not fully loaded. Second position is going to be the hand pointing outwards. You want to tilt your elbows in. So as you can see here, the side of my elbows are facing to the sides. So I'm rotating my elbows in and I'm pressing forward. So you want to shrug your scapula forward and make sure that you push to the ground through the wrist. Very important. You go back and forth, you go circles, back and forth as well, and just see what feels, see the progress that you build in your wrist when you do that. You'll see that it might be uncomfortable in the beginning, and you'll get better at it as you progress. The third position is the hands reversed. So your fingers are looking towards you this time. Very important as well to build that form, mobility, and stretch any muscle that may be keeping you from really flexing your wrist as much as you can. So you want to tilt backwards, forward, and lift your palms a little bit so you deepen the angle here and you get even more stretch. Really good. Round your back. That's how it looks from the side. You don't want to arch on this, and maintain some tension in the knees so you don't put all the weight on your wrist. The last one is the hardest for a lot of people, which is the hands backwards with the palms facing up. So this is the beginner's version when your hands are facing each other, and eventually you want to put them facing yourself. So that's the starting position. You want to open your elbows and your shoulders and round your back. So big time mobility effort here, and that's going to translate into much more strength in the future once you get better at this. So this is the beginner's version, and then I'm going to turn it in here. The thing that didn't change though is I keep my elbows facing forward. That's where people have a problem usually, is when they move their hands, their elbows move with it, and you want to decorrelate those two. So that makes your forearm a lot more mobile. So same thing, you can go back and forth, slight rotations. That's how it looks from the side. So we talked about mobility in the wrist. So I just showed you 4 different stretches you can do. Very important to get better at any movement that involves your upper body, really. The second thing that we're going to talk about is false grip. So this has to do with grip strength, pure strength. A lot of time people grab stuff, whether it's a dumbbell again or a bar, the wrong way. And by the wrong way, I mean they don't engage their forearm enough. So it's lacking an element in your muscle chain, and you can't do the full extent of what you should be able to do if you had this false grip power. So false grip is really a way to explain how to engage the forearm while you're grabbing something. It's quite natural once you get it, and you'll see how much more strength you'll build once you apply this technique. It's very efficient. And for example, when you practice pull-ups, if you're intermediate or beginner, doing that will literally increase your level by tenfold. So apply this technique that we're just going to show here, and you will see amazing strength progress. So here we're going to lift our wrist up. So here, instead of just hanging from down, I'm really lifting my wrist up, and I'm going to try and hang from the bar like that. So there's different levels of workout that you can do. You can just be under the bar and keep your feet on the ground and just try to really hold like this. And as you progress, you start with your toes or your feet, and then you get on your toes, and you decrease the amount of support that you get from your legs, but you keep engaging your forearms as much as possible. And one day will come where you can take your feet off the ground completely and just keep hanging like this without your wrist to completely fall back. So you'll see that your wrist is going to fall a little bit down. It's normal once you start hanging, but try to not let it fall completely. Just power through your forearm, extensors and flexors, and really both is going to suspend you and make your upper body and your grip strength a lot stronger. So here's how it looks. I'm holding on the bar, and here I'm using my tuck dead hang exercise. So this correlates with the shoulders. That's why you see the little arrows here. Your shoulder shrug is going to really depend on how strong your forearms are. So you want to use both and correlate those two elements in your hanging. You want to keep those lats engaged and your forearm straight, slightly up, like we just talked about. You want to tuck your pelvis in and keep that back straight, your feet together. And again, if you can't do it like this, completely off the ground, put your feet down, and then do the same thing and work your way up from here. Very, very important exercise. I have a couple of videos on the channel that will show you the beginner's version with a lower bar. It's quite similar, slightly different for those who can't hang at all yet. So your grip and your wrist mobility, very important. Strength and wrist mobility, big time importance. The second set of tips that I want to talk about today is located in your hips, and we're going to talk about the pelvis tilt. We all, or 90% of us, are suffering from an anterior pelvis tilt, which is basically your hips falling forward, and that comes with too much sitting. That usually comes from a weaker lower back. The lumbar area down here is a lot of time weak, and sitting and driving makes it even worse. So we're not practicing this posterior pelvis tilt enough. So whenever you work out, whatever it is that you're doing, it's a pull-up, a push-up, a hold, a static, whatever it is, you're going to use a pelvis tilt most likely. So learn how to control your pelvis and reverse it back, basically. So feel the falling forward as a default position and try to reverse it back, regardless of what you're doing. So I'm going to use the hollow hold here as an example. And see here, the pelvis tilt means you're going to tilt your legs up and then your abs in. And here I was waiting for that little graph here to show up. So here I'm keeping my body straight by lifting my legs, and I'm really lifting my legs with my lower abs here. I'm contracting and I'm tucking my rib cage in as well here, right? So it makes the back flat. If I was releasing my hips, I would have a slight arch, and a lot of time it's what prevents people from staying straight. So I'm showing it to you here as a whole hold on the floor. We're gonna translate it into a hanging hold as well, but that's the same principle. So be mindful of it, work on your pelvis, reverse it anytime that you can. It's very important. Keep your back flat and your body in a straight posture by using this technique. I'm doing a flutter here, and just to show you, I'm also doing that all the time. So it works for dynamic movement, it works for static holds. Again, it works for any movement that you may do. When you stretch out, very important. That's why I put that pelvis tilt in the stretch. So here I'm showing you a standing split stretch, and I'm going to tilt my pelvis back. So I'm going to go from untilted to tilted in. Check it out. So I'm arching too much here on purpose, and then I'm going to reverse it. So I'm going to press in my rib cage, tuck my glutes in, power in my legs, and tuck my lower abs in. And here. And that aligns you properly, and that allows you to do the stretches that you need to be doing, and it builds your core foundations from within. So I highly recommend you tilt your pelvis. Here I'm tucking it in here. You can't really see from the front the details, but I'm telling you, I'm not arching my back, and I'm opening my hips. So it's a big element of strength that you will be able to translate into any movement. Here, we're going to talk about how it translates into a hanging movement. So I showed you a hollow hold on the floor. We saw how it looks when you stretch and do other things with your hips. And now let's see how it looks when you hold from a bar. So the hollow hold dead hang really is a big deal. So I was slightly arched before. Let me reverse that a little bit here. And now I'm in a more hollow position. See, I'm doing it again. I was starting from a dead hang here, and then I'm going to hollow and tilt my pelvis in here. And that's a big, big difference. So practice this. You can hang from not hollow completely and then tilt in. So you'll see your body getting a slight angle like this, a slight curve. And that's the sign that your pelvis is working hard and maintaining you straight. So do a couple of reps. You can do like I'm doing, hanging neutral, and then doing the pelvis tilt here, right there. The third set of tips I'm going to talk about is your lower body, your feet. A lot of time people misunderstand how the lower body works. They do a ton of squats and a ton of other exercises to get stronger legs and overall athleticism, but it's not really always translating, and sometimes they get injured, or your range of motion is slacking or not as ideal as it could be. And I'm going to show you two things that are very, very important. So now let's talk about your feet, because it's really a key factor in developing proper strength in your lower body. So what you really want to be able to do is toe abduction. So your big toe, you want to be able to pull it away from your other toes. So you can see here in the figure, how it's really just spreading it out, and especially the big toe. Huge factor. Having strong feet is going to benefit your overall strength in literally anything else you do. Make sure that your feet are strong. That's the key takeaway here. And make sure that you're able to abduct your big toe from the other toes. Big, big factor of success and strength. And last but not least, it's a movement that goes with the one we just talked about, is the ankle flexion. I've made a video on that before, but I really wanted to put that in that video as well, because it goes hand in hand with the toe abduction. And that's the ankle flexion that a lot of people lack. Being able to flex your ankle forward is a big, big issue for a lot of people. And if you get better at it, you get a lot stronger. So you can just take a wall, apply your foot on the floor as proper as possible. So ground it, grab the floor, extend your big toe, so abduct it from the other ones. Start about 1 inch from the bar, and then flex your knee against the wall. And you're going to create tension in the ankle forward. You want to keep your heel on the floor while you do that, and keep your pelvis tilted, so it all sums up everything that we talked about in this video. You can try for a few rounds. 5 to 10 repetitions. I've put some notes in there to give you some ideas. Regardless of how many you do, just practice it consistently. Sorry, the consistent is the key word here. So be diligent and practice it as many times as you can. You can do that before and after your workouts, really, or on your days off. I highly recommend you practice it. So once you feel that it's becoming too easy, you can step back a little bit and do that flexion again and repeat with both legs, and again as many times as you can. So here, as you can see, I'm maintaining that toe abduction that I was talking about, trying to maintain that arch in my foot while I'm doing it. So don't let the plant of your foot fall. You don't want to have flat feet when you're getting into that flexion with your ankle. Big element of success here. So keep your knees forward, prevent them from going sideways, and just be static as much as possible in your motion. By static, I mean straight, sorry. Don't let the knees fall apart on the sides, and just keep a good direction every time you do a movement. Here, connect and release. So that's it, guys. We talked about 6 tips here to get a lot stronger, really. I promise you success if you apply these drills regularly. Make sure that your wrist and your grip is strong. Make sure that you can keep a pelvis tilted and engage while you do an exercise, whether it's dynamic or static. And third, but one of the most important factors is your feet. Make sure that your ankles are flexible and mobile, and that you can abduct your toes. Your big toe is going to create a lot of strength into all of your lower body movement and your strength in general. Really, you'll whether it's sprints or training, you're just going to get a lot stronger by applying these principles. So thanks for watching, guys. That's it for today. If you have questions, drop in the comments below and I'd be happy to answer. And I will be back next week with a new video. Take care, guys.